So Seven Deadly Tens is actually 7 different plays that I've written over a course of about 10 years. I didn't set out to link them thematically, but just as I was looking at my plays that weren't yet published, it occurred to me that, wow, all of these plays have instances of people behaving badly. And some of that, I think, just speaks to drama and the nature of theater, that if everybody's being nice to everybody all the time, you don't have much of a play, you don't have a lot of conflict. So some of it is built into what theater is about. Somebody somewhere is going to make a mistake, and worse than a mistake, they're probably going to do something bad. They're going to have ill intent. And as I was really looking at the plays, it slotted out perfectly with Dante's iconic 7 deadly sins. What he determined were sort of the elite groupings of bad human behavior that maybe even are uniquely human. That we don't see antelopes acting with pride or jealousy. Although I would argue my cat can do any of the 7 deadly sins. She definitely is prideful and envious and all of those things when she's not getting the attention. She has a little streak of gluttony in her too. So maybe that's wrong. Maybe it's not exclusively to humans. But man, we sure see it a lot. And I was seeing it as each of these plays were being, as I was just rereading them. Some of them I hadn't looked at in quite some time. So I reached out to Jason. Original Works has published another one of my short plays, and they're really the only publisher that I could find that's publishing collections of short plays by a single playwright who hasn't won a Pulitzer or an Oscar or something like that. There are a number of short play collections that I have. I have 1 play out of 10 or 1 play out of 50. But they were really the only ones who were saying, hey, what happens if we let a playwright's voice be showcased over 6 or 7 or however many different plays? So I just laid them all out, and it really had a pretty great flow, just in terms of producibility, things that are appropriate, potentially even for Zoom. When I started on this process, I was a lot more optimistic about the future of Zoom theater. And that was actually a big part of my initial conversation with Original Works is, what if we, and I've talked about this with Stage Rights and other publishers too, what if we provide virtual backgrounds, or what if we give insight as to how one might stage or create this play in a virtual space? And honestly, Jason was not terribly into that idea. He said, I want the plays to be great plays. I don't want to plan for Zoom. I want to plan for being back in theaters. And I think that actually was very wise. So we moved away from that idea and said, how about if we just give 7 really excellent plays that can be produced by probably a small theater company, more likely a college or even a high school. Some of them are maybe not high school appropriate. But that's challenging roles for young actors. There's something fun for directors to unlock and really develop, and would be enjoyable for varied and diverse audiences. They're not about sin in a didactic or anything close to a religious way, but they are people behaving badly, and they are opportunities to look at that bad behavior and say, how did this ever become acceptable? And start to actually have moral questions and moral conversations afterward, without getting too heady about it, because some of the subject matter is a little scatological. But I think that in lies exactly where some of these themes become most vivid. These are the plays in 7 Deadly Tens. The first one is my Lust play, This Hungry Churchyard, which is set 3 days after the end of Romeo and Juliet, and we are introduced to Benvolio and Rosaline, who confront their innermost desires. The second play is my Pride play, Dave's Epic 40th Birthday Party. The tagline I came up with is revenge a dish best served cold, or steaming, sweltering hot? Greed is the third play in the collection, which is The Tale of Dakota Dawson. Dostoevsky is the fourth play in the series, which is my envy play, although a lot of these plays are envy plays, but this is the most envious. Gluttony was a challenge, but the cautionary tale of Big Ed Delahanty, which is fifth in the lineup, is definitely my gluttony play. Wrath is sixth, and my wrath play is called Ruined. And the seventh and final play in the collection is Tupperware, which is my sloth play. My big goal with what a reader or an audience member might get from engaging with these plays is the diversity and range of human experience and the capture of any moments that really strike you personally, whether as something you agree with or something you don't. The plays all are they're about sin. There's a sin at the heart of each of them. There is a willful negative act, which has judgment associated with it. But I think that that's appropriate too. And some of these things are done and it's presented more in jest. Some of these things are done and it's more dramatic and serious. But I think all of it carries some emotional weight. And it's perfectly likely that not every play will be as affecting to any individual person as every other play. I mean, that's just the nature of experiencing stories. But I have a feeling that there will be one or two that resonate with one way or another. And I would hope that it's an opportunity to have a good time, to engage in the world around you and just rejoice in the fun that is storytelling with the actors in your head or with the actors on your screen or with the actors on the stage. But to really lean into those, like, there's some parts of these plays that bite. And some of those bites are unexpected. Some of them you think you're just tootling along on a merry-go-round, but then you take that wrong turn and you get a 2x4 over your top of your head. And just deal with that. Like, why is that bothering you so much? And you can email me, and I'd love to talk with you about it. My hope is that it's the themes and the bigger questions that the plays are asking and conjuring up that are worthy of conversation with you and whoever you see the plays with, or whoever you share your thoughts with, even if that's yourself. I try not to write purely superficially. That's something I do my best to hold myself to. There's something in there that bothers me about the world, about myself, about choices I've made. And so I think that that's all there for me to say, this is what I've been through and this is how I feel and how I think. I'd love to bring you into this conversation and let's hash it out. And maybe we have a good time doing that. Maybe we can feel like we're better people because of it. But it's I hope that's something that you're left with something thought-provoking and enjoyable. The best reason to buy this collection, as it were, is to get that range of style and storytelling of the short form. There's lyrical tragi-comedy. There's very straightforward office, dark, dramatic tragedy. There's a producibility and an accessibility to it. There's also a scale and a theatricality to it that make it very elevated. I think it's pretty unique in terms of what other collections are out there, especially for younger people. I think young people are really pretty savvy. I think sometimes what we give to high school students in particular is very much a watered down version of what we think they can handle. And I think especially teenagers, but even, I'm not saying these plays are right for 9 and 10-year-olds, but I think even 9 and 10-year-olds can handle a lot more than we give them credit for in terms of storytelling and complex thought. I think there's a lot here that works as a cohesive evening. There's a lot of roles that are scalable for large and small casts. It's not quite equal men and women roles, but there's a lot there just to provide opportunities for actors to really sink their teeth into. I've been told by directors of all of these plays that there's a lot there, yet it's not so complicated that it's impossible to produce in a short play festival format or something like that. I think it's also a way to start really great conversations. Because sometimes starting from a place of humor or absurdity or genre is a way to say, okay, we can all get on board with this together. It's not going to push me out of my comfort zone to too quickly, or at least too far. But then, like the frog in the boiling water, as you find yourself wading through the comedy or through the absurd, you may find yourself in some pretty wonderful, engaging places that could turn into great conversations after the play is over, or maybe even long after you see or read the play. I think it's a good collection, especially, I would say, for young men. I think that there's a lot of expectation and difficulty in growing up generally, and I've had some very enlightening conversations with young men where they're encountered with their own emotions and feelings and complexity of that, and they don't know how to express it, like literally don't have the words. And I think these plays actually have a lot of men dealing with stuff, or not dealing with stuff, and then dealing with the consequences thereof. And I hope that there's value to that. I hope that there's something that a young man and a friend or a parent or a guardian or a loved one could say, I see those feelings, I feel those feelings, but what am I supposed to do? Or aren't I supposed to be this way or act this way? Isn't this what I should do? And I think the play will give an opportunity to say, well, you need to do what you need to do, but let's consider a range of things that are going on. Let's not treat this thing as something basic. It's complex. I think a lot of times young men are expected just to deal with it. I think a lot of times all of us are expected to deal with it, but there's something about the coming of age time period that is especially hard. And thinking about high school, especially reading these plays, make me think that there's something here that could be valuable beyond an entertainment, a class exercise, all of the great value and wonder that comes with producing theater. I think that there's something here that could resonate in that way. So Seven Deadly Tens is available at originalworkspublishing.com and also Amazon. And Original Works can also handle all of the licensing if you're interested in producing any or all of the plays. They're really great folks. They'll take good care of you.